Dr. Baidullah, please have a seat, please. Dr. Farah Mazhar from Ministry of National Health Services Regulation and Coordination. Dr. Farah Mazhar. Dr. Ahmad Hussain Tariq from Health Service Academy. Ahmad Hussain Tariq. Please have a seat.
Tariq, where's Tariq?
We start World Patient Safety Day Seminar 2022 with the recitation of Holy Quran.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان صدق الله العظيم.
His Excellency Chief Guest Dr. Palitha Maipala, Head of Mission, WHO Representative, His Excellency Professor Dr. Muhammad Iqbal Chaudhary, Coordinator General Comstech, Dr. Sambreen Afzal, Representative from Ministry of National Services Regulation and Coordination, Dr. Ubaidullah, Director, Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan, Dr. Ahmad Hussain Tariq, Health Service Academy, His Excellency diplomats, eminent health experts, medical managers, policy makers, Assalamu alaikum. I welcome His Excellency Dr. Palitha Maipala and all of you to celebrate the World Patient Safety Day 2022. Every person around the world shall at some point in their life take medicines to prevent or treat illness. However, medications sometimes cause serious harm if incorrectly stored, irrationally prescribed, dispensed, administered, or if monitored insufficiently. Unsafe medication practices and medication errors are a leading cause of avoidable harm in healthcare across the world. Medication errors occur when weak medication systems and human factors such as stress, poor environmental conditions, or staff shortages affect the safety of medication use process. This can result in severe patient harm, disability, and even patient may go to the death. The ongoing COVID pandemic and current flood disaster has significantly increased the risk of medication errors and associated related problems. It is in this context, medication has been selected as the theme of World Patient Safety Day 2022 with the slogan of medication safety without harm. Being regulator and ex-director of Division of Pharmacy Services, Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan, with the approval of Chief Executive Officer, during 2021, BRAC have requested the Dr. Palita Mahipala, Country Representative WHO, that majority of patients suffer due to the misuse of medications, and our request may be forwarded to, if you remember, to Amro region and WHO headquarters to make a theme medication without harm for the year 2022. Alhamdulillah, medication safety was the theme and medication harm was the slogan for the World Patient Safety Day 2022. The campaign calls on stakeholders to prioritize and take early action in key areas associated with patient harm due to unsafe medication practices, which are very prevalent in Pakistan. These include high-risk situations, transitions of care, polypharmacy, and look-alike and sound-alike medications. The campaign will provide a special focus on the implementation of COVID-19 pandemic and flood disasters for medication safety, considering the serious disruption in the provision of health services in these days. World Patient Safety Day is one of the WHO Public Health Days, and it was established in 2019 by the 72nd World Health Assembly through the adoption of Resolution WHA 72.6, Global Action on Patient Safety. Its objectives are to increase public awareness and engagement, enhance global understanding, and work towards global solidarity, and action by member states to enhance patient safety and reduce patient harm. Excellencies and ladies and gentlemen, at the end, on behalf of entire team of comstech, I would express our gratitude to Excellency Dr. Palita Mahipala, Country Representative WHO, for his patronage and sustained support for comstech. Your presence here is indeed a great source of strength for all of us. Khuda Hafiz. I will request representative from Ministry of National Services Regulations to say a few words on behalf of DG Health. Dr. Farah, please.
Good morning all. His Excellency Dr. Paritha Mahipola, Head of Mission, WHO Representative, Professor Dr. Mohammad Iqbal Chaudhry, Coordinator General, comstech, eminent health experts, hospital managers, academia and regulators, Assalamu alaikum. The Director General of WHO, Dr. Tedros, in a press briefing Wednesday noted that the year 2022 World Patient Safety Day celebrated every year and is focused on medication without harm. According to Dr. Tedros, medication errors account for half of all avoidable harm in medical care. He stated, medicines are powerful tools for protecting health, but medicines are wrongly prescribed, taken incorrectly, or are of poor quality, can cause serious harm and even death. The major contributing factors to unsafe practices are weak medication systems and human factors, which many countries lacking the capacity to detect, evaluate, and prevent medicine safety issues. Other contributing factors include stress, inadequate knowledge and training, staff shortages, workplace distractions, high workload, and limited resources. Moreover, illiteracy, language difficulties, as well as social, cultural, and religious beliefs also play a role. The administration of surplus medication at home, the purchase of medication from pharmacies on the advice of friends and family members, rather than the trained professionals, are all common practices that should be avoided, is one of the major contributing factors. Ladies and gentlemen, patient safety errors can be avoided by adopting quality assurance, healthcare staff's continuing education, and error reporting systems. It requires a multi-pronged approach direct towards laying SOPs for patient handling, diagnosis, and treatment. Adaptation of hand hygiene and other universal precautions, availability of checklist, rational use of medicine, training of healthcare professionals, strengthening of healthcare infrastructure, a hospital accreditation system, awareness generation among patients. All these concepts should be an integral part of the hospital's priorities to provide safe healthcare service delivery. Ministry of National Health Services Regulation and Coordination is highly grateful to WHO Pakistan, especially Dr. Paritha Mahipola, for his dedicated and untiring leadership in patient safety domain. To raise the awareness of quality and patient safety in the public sector's hospitals. Here on World Patient Safety Day, Dr. Sabine Afzal's devoted efforts and taking lead to develop a system for quality and patient safety in Pakistan are well appreciated. Ladies and gentlemen, your presence here is indeed a great source of strength for all of us. We are thankful to comstech and its team, WHO team, diplomats, public health specialists, hospital managers, policymakers, clinicians, and other guests for sparing their precious time to attend this seminar on patient safety. Thank you so much.
There is a video message by WHO Regional Director on medication safety.
World Patient Safety Day is celebrated globally every year on the 17th of September. The theme of this year's campaign is Medication Safety, under the slogan Medication Without Harm, with the call to action, know, check, ask.
Globally, 1 in 10 patients is harmed while receiving hospital care.
Every year, in low and middle income countries, an estimated 134 million adverse events occur in hospitals, leading to 2.6 million deaths.
Medication errors cost the world $42 billion a year.
In the Eastern Mediterranean region, up to 18% of the adverse events are caused by medication errors.
Most medication errors are preventable. WHO, in response to the heavy burden of unsafe care, has developed patient safety tools, frameworks, and interventions to address the unsafe medication practices. The recently developed Global Action on Patient Safety can guide countries in achieving progress to reduce unsafe medication practices.
The COVID-19 pandemic has exposed gaps in patient safety globally and in the region, as it has led to an increased risk of medication errors and unsafe medication practices. WHO's third Global Patient Safety Challenge, Medication Without Harm, aims to reduce severe avoidable medication-related error by 50% globally over the next 5 years.
Regional patient safety tools and frameworks have been adapted to include specific interventions that address unsafe medication in 3 main areas: polypharmacy, care transitions, and high-risk situations.
To ensure the standards are followed, it is important to comply with the 5 rights of medication use: the right patient, the right drug, the right time, the right dose, and the right route.
Patients can play an important role in reducing medication errors. The No Check Ask tool can be very helpful in preventing medication-related problems.
Nobody should be harmed while receiving health care. Let's join hands to promote safe medication and ensure that everyone receives medication without harm.
Now I request Dr. Ahmed Hussain Tariq, Health Service Academy, to give a presentation on medication without harm. Ahmed Hussain Tariq.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. So I'm here representing Dr. Shahzad Ali Khan, Vice Chancellor of Health Services Academy, one of the leading public health institutes of Pakistan, with the regional and now getting a global impact as well. As yesterday, we have signed an MOU with Institute of Health Metrics and Evaluation, University of Washington. So today we will talk about medication safety without harm. As today's event has been organized with the theme of celebrating the World's Patient Safety Day, why our main theme is medication safety without harm. What we normally do, whenever we talk about health, who is the stakeholders? Doctors, prescribers, health managers. But not only in Pakistan and a lot of other developing countries, one of the biggest stakeholder, which is often ignored, is the patient. So whenever we talk about medication safety, medication without harm, do we actually realize how much impact it is costing on the patients, not only emotionally, but also financially, and how long that pain or misery persists, which is often caused by a medication error, which I believe a lot of us probably don't think over it, and that's one of the areas which has been ignored for quite some time. I believe all of us have been taking medications since we were quite young. And whenever we talk about medication, especially if you look in developing countries, how often there has been a legislation or litigations when things go wrong. Like we know in US, they have a huge market and a huge business where if anything goes bad, the doctor's license is going to get cancelled. There'll be a huge litigation issues. Did you ever heard anything like that in developing countries? Not only Pakistan, in most of the developing countries. That's one of the things which we are lacking. And here we have all gathered to not only strengthen that area which needs to be there, but also to increase the awareness among the policymakers, regulators, and most importantly, to spread this message among the main stakeholders, which is the patient. What exactly is the medication error? Do any of us here sitting, or those who are hearing right now this talk online, did any one of us have ever experienced any medication error? Have we ever seen anyone who's experiencing a medication error? Probably some of you may have heard that someone he got an allergic reaction once he take penicillin, or maybe some of you have heard that a nurse or someone has put a wrong medication and the patient condition has deteriorated. Has there ever any regulatory action taken over it? It's quite rare, unfortunately. Thanks to WHO, that I believe since 2017, this day celebration is happening quite aggressively, and now its awareness is being promoted all over. Whenever we talk about medication safety, what's our aim? We have just one aim, which technically have a lot of other indicators as well, is how we can reduce the medication errors and how we can actually improve the safety standards for the patient. What's our objective for doing all these activities? First of all, after coming to this event, looking at whatever the material we have, are we able to understand the importance of it? Can we spread the awareness within our professional circle, within our social circle, within our family circles, that how important medication safety is, or what it can actually cause? And something which we all need to work together, I believe most of us here, professionals, diplomats, health managers, academic experts, how often we strive our best to engage the stakeholders to raise this issue at every level. I can see a lot of amazing personality in the audience. Some of them have been the leaders of the tertiary healthcare facilities as well. How often this issue has been ignored? It has been ignored since decades. The question is, shall we still keep on ignoring this issue unless this becomes something really, really bad? Or we need to take action more proactively, and we need to preempt what to do to prevent it further. Recently, there has been a concept in medication, patient-centered approach, which means you make patient the real stakeholder, the leader, the champion of his own health. Don't you think it's time we need to deploy the same approach in medication safety as well? That patient needs to be empowered, that whatever medication you are taking, yes, you need to be cautious of that. And he needs to also provide a feedback mechanism which informs everyone around him, all healthcare providers, that yes, medication management, safe medication management, following standards is inevitable. And if things don't go as they should be, well, there has to be a mechanism to fix it. Scaling up, yes, we talk about digitalization, we talk about healthcare. We're really thankful to WHO and everyone who's contributing in this patient safety awareness cause. If we will not scale up the awareness of this problem, a lot of us will never know. A lot of the people will never know. Just wondering in the audience, has any one of you have ever seen how the patients of TBs are treated? What are the side effects of the drugs used in tuberculosis? Have any one of you witnessed that? Probably some of you may have your loved ones with a problem of cancer. Have you guys seen what chemotherapy does to a person? Yes, it's a treatment, but that's kind of another disease in itself. So these are the things which, if we will not focus on, then definitely our things are going to get bad. The economic impact will going to get bad. One of the very, very important thing, and for that I'm really thankful to DRAP. They have also recently launched one of the pharmacovigilance app, which aim is to help everyone report the medications errors more strictly. It causes more than 50% harm overall in a healthcare setting. What strategies we need to do? Involve patients, families, prioritize safety culture, use innovation, and help provide resources where they are needed. Healthcare leaders, healthcare workers should prioritize to fix medication harm in Pakistan. There are a couple of key steps we need to do. Most important thing is awareness, medication reviews by pharmacists, right people, dispensing accordingly, and most importantly, check and balance. If we are able to do that, we can actually reduce the medication harm. And the Patient Safety Day is not just a day. Actually, it's a commitment from each one of us that are we willing to commit to this cause for the rest of our life? Or is it just another day, just another event, and that's it? Thank you very much.
Now I request Dr. Ubaidullah, Director, Drug Regulatory Authority, Pakistan, to give a presentation on status of medication safety in Pakistan. Dr. Ubaidullah.
Thank you very much, sir. And Assalamu alaikum and good morning, everyone. In fact, before going to presentation, I really want to acknowledge the efforts of World Health Organization and Comstech for organizing this activity with very focused discussion on patient safety as well. As we know that in developed world, patient rights are considered as one of very integral component of healthcare system. And now EU and the developed world have very specific legislations for the patient rights as well. But when we look the scenario of low middle income countries, then situation is right now emerging where talk of patient safety and medication safety is now it is in field. So the situation in Pakistan, I will share with you, is that medication safety in general, in specific, and patient safety is now emerging. And there are various legislation which are in the process. And when we talk about the medication safety, as Dr. Tariq just shared about the legislation by the DRAP as well. So I will share with you what the DRAP has traveled its journey in component of medication safety. So my topic of my presentation is role of Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan in medication safety. And I will start my presentation with 2 slides from the UN SDGs goals. And being signatory of these SDG, So this slide is basically about the Sustainable Development Goals, and being signatory of all these SDGs, we can see that we are, every state, every government is bound to provide good health to its public. And when we talk about the good health, and in perspective of medicine safety, patient safety, then specific point is the SDG 3.8, and it talks about the availability of safe, effective, and quality medicine at large for the public. So every regulatory authority in the country is responsible for the provision of safe, effective, and quality medicines for its public. And these 3 principles are the basic parameters for the approval of any therapy in the country: safety, efficacy, and quality. Now the discussion is whether these 3 parameters are only will be looked at the time of approval. So answer is no. These 3 parameters should be ensured by the regulatory authority and all stakeholders present here throughout the life cycle of the product, meaning thereby that every drug which is available for the use of patient at the pharmacy shelf, that should be safe, effective, and of quality till its last date of use. And for this purpose, Now we talk about the patient safety, and we can see that the patient safety is a very vast terminology and very vast field. And the topic which is very much related to any regulatory authority, it is rather pharmacovigilance. Why we talk about pharmacovigilance? Patient safety starts from the start of any treatment of any patient in the hospital up to its recovery. So the patient, that component which is related with that regulatory authority, it is the adverse drug reaction reporting mechanism, that is the pharmacovigilance. And if you see pharmacovigilance system in Pakistan, so we first envisaged to become the member of Uppsala Monitoring Center in 1994. Uppsala Monitoring Center is the WHO professional collaborative center for all pharmacovigilance activities in the world. It is the center point. Then it was a very large gap of about 18 years. And after the establishment of DRAP, then you can see there is a continuous journey that in 2012, after the DRAP Act, Pharmacy Services Division established, 2017, we established National Pharmacovigilance Center, which is right now focal point for all the ADR reporting system in the country, and where we have various systems which I will share with you for all these things. And keeping in view all our activities, we got to full membership of Uppsala Monitoring Center in 2018, and then it's a continuous journey, 2019 guidelines development and all the things. And 2020, there was another milestone which DRAP achieved, and that is the online reporting system, because it's not the era where we used to have some paper-based documentation. Now, our ADR reporting system is online. We have some med safety mobile app as well. We are also working in collaboration with MHRA for all these purposes. And at the same time, in 2021, we established, with the help of provincial governments, and WHO has very important role in establishment of all these centers, Provincial Pharmacovigilance Center. And in 2022, in April, we promulgated law of the land for the pharmacovigilance rule as well. Now, what is the role of the regulatory authority? In fact, regulatory authority in any country is the center point for collection of all adverse drug reactions in that very country. So the most important part in this is all the stakeholders which are directly or indirectly involved with the patients. So provincial governments, private healthcare establishments, our vertical programs, these are our stakeholders for the collection of all ADRs and reporting to the DRAP. So it is our monitoring mechanism that for the safety purpose, starting from the registration of therapeutic good, then post-marketing surveillance, ADR reporting, and quality control testing, and then subsequently permission to remain the product in the market or the withdrawal. It is a general mechanism which is being adopted by every regulatory authority of the country, so we do also as well. And another very important point, which is separate from the pharmacovigilance, that is the medication error. In fact, medication error is the error which is being occurred in any healthcare establishment. As shared in our presentation, introductory presentation by the WHO regional office, and also highlighted by Dr. Tariq, there are many things which are being done by the healthcare professional. There are many mistakes, and all these mistakes like wrong prescription, wrong diagnosis, wrong dosage, wrong administration of drug, wrong compounding and dispensing of drugs, all these parameters, all these are the factors which lead to the medication error. But apart from all these medication errors, some of these medication errors are supposed to be communicated to the regulatory authority. So it is the medication error monitoring, but by and large, regulatory authority is responsible for all the pharmacovigilance activities. And being member of Uppsala Monitoring Center, we follow same tools which are being adopted by various regulatory authorities as well. So it is the coordination mechanism, how we collect the pharmacovigilance data. PNP, Pakistan National Pharmacovigilance Center, is at the center point, and we get the report from first level from the e-reporting or from healthcare professionals as well. And at the same time, in fact, in all of our system, Punjab government has taken lead, and it is a very good established pharmacovigilance center and being adopted by other provinces as well. And major chunk of all these pharmacovigilance related activities, ADR reporting is being done by the expanded program on immunization as well. So it is the coordination mechanism, and all this reporting is mostly by online system. And it is already, I have shared, that is the, and another thing, NIMS, you can see that COVID has very devastating effect, no doubt. But at the same time, it has made some of our systems strong as well. National Immunization System, NIMS, it is a database which we have developed, NCOC and NADRA, and now all the vaccination related adverse drug reactions are reported to NIMS. So these are various sources of pharmacovigilance reporting systems. And now it is the statistics as of today. As of yesterday, till now, after all these establishments, promulgation of rules, all this collection, right now in our center, 43,555 ADR reports have been received, and 31,000 is from the EPI. And for your interest, all these 31,000 ADRs of COVID vaccines. So we are working in close coordination with EPI for the COVID vaccination ADRs as well, and rest of all from the for the various centers as well. And at the end, you can see that 12,000 ADRs are reported by pharmaceutical companies themselves, because after the establishment of all these rules and all the things, now it is mandatory part that every pharmaceutical company should have pharmacovigilance officer, and in case of any adverse drug reaction by their drug, they are supposed to report to the regulatory authority. But as a matter of fact, if we see a country with 220 million population, then this 43,000 ADR reports are peanuts. We understand, but we have started all the things, and we are coordinating with our stakeholders, especially provincial governments, to indulge in this system, to establish its system for reporting of ADR as well. And it is the way forward. How can we do this? Because as in introductory presentation, we heard that billions of dollars of global economy is being hit by these ADRs. At the same time, there are thousands and lakhs of lives which are at stake always due to these ADRs. So it means these can be prevented by having some focused work, by having some stringent mechanisms, and definitely it is not only the job of regulatory authority. It is a collective work in which healthcare establishments, provincial governments, international bodies are equally responsible. So international collaborations are important. Functional pharmacovigilance system is important. I will not go for every point except awareness and capacity building. It's very important for countries like Pakistan. Capacity building is for the regulatory authority, for the hospital as well. And awareness for the public is very important. And taking advantage of our media colleagues sitting here, that awareness is very important, because in my experience, whenever any adverse reaction has been reported by any healthcare professional, most of the time it has been portrayed very wrongly in media, that due to any medicine, adverse drug reaction has been reported, and then healthcare professionals and pharmaceutical companies then avoid to report all these adverse drug reactions. So my request to media colleagues will be that awareness is very important for the implementation of all these activities. So thank you very much for listening to me. Thank you very much.
Now the time has reached that I request His Excellency Dr. Palitha Mahipala, Head of Mission WHO Representative, to deliver keynote address to the August House. Dr. Palitha Mahipala. Clapping हो सकती है?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum. The Professor Iqbal Chowdhury, Secretary General, comstech, all the distinguished representatives from Ministry of Health, DAP, and Health Services Academy, my colleagues from World Health Organization, media friends, ladies and gentlemen, also Your Excellencies from diplomatic crowd. Thank you very much for inviting me today to be here to say a few words in this very important occasion. Many have touched upon eloquently about the patient safety and the theme, medication safety. Therefore, I thought I would just talk a little bit more on patient safety and then come to the subject on medication errors. Now, why we are talking about patient safety is quite important for us to understand. I thought rather than talking about numbers, I thought I should quote some stories. Let me quote two stories. This is from one of the developed countries. He is a CEO of a company, a fit 60-year-old tennis player. He has developed little bit of back pain when he was playing tennis. Otherwise, he was quite okay, but when he was playing tennis, he got little bit of back pain. So he went and had a consultation. He met the orthopedic surgeon and said he was requested to undergo surgery to replace the hip. So hip replacement today is not a big operation. I think except brain and heart, even heart is being replaced now. So many of the organs are being replacing. So it's a era of so much of development in health services. So he underwent the surgery, finally got hip infected. And then next 3 months, he received continuous IV antibiotics. Then he was requested to replace the hip again. And then he was kept in ICU because infection was continuing. And after 3 months, he was confined to wheelchair. Now, mind you, this is a person who was playing tennis, only just got little bit of hip pain when he was playing tennis. He didn't have anything else other than that, but finally ended up in a wheelchair. Why? Because our healthcare delivery is not safe. That's one of the examples. Let me quote the other example. Middle-aged woman admitted for the treatment of depression is a psychiatric illness. Acquired diarrhea is common thing, nosocomial infections. We go to hospital for fever, we get diarrhea. We go to hospital for chronic illness, maybe hypertension treatment, but finally we ended up in another ward for some other disease. It's a common thing which we see. We call nosocomial infections. So finally she got diarrhea and dehydrated, developed cardiorespiratory failure, and then resuscitated, kept on ventilation, and then finally died after 2.5 months in ICU. Now, if you look at these two cases, we can quote so many cases, so many such examples across the world, whether it is a developed country, whether it is developed country, whether it is a low income or middle income country. So these stories tell us that how safe is our healthcare. So we need to really focus on patient safety because of this reason. Now in UK, there was a study done with 18,820 patients. Of these, 1,225 patients were admitted due to adverse drug reactions. This is the theme of the patient safety day this time. So there are so many people come to hospitals because of adverse drug reaction. This is created by us, by the medical profession. So therefore, we need to really relook at whether we are going by the prescription patterns, we are going by the procedures, are we adopting all the knowledge we have when it comes to treating patients. average duration of stay 8 days. So these people shouldn't have come to hospital, but they have come to hospital, they stay in hospital, you incur cost and your healthcare costs go up. So therefore it's very important and pertinent to see how best we can deliver safe care. Now all over the world, people are fighting for better health services. Healthcare is recognized as a human right, a fundamental right. This has two domains, right to access and right to be healthy. Right to access is provision of healthcare services to the doorstep of the people. Right to be healthy is that we provide quality, comprehensive, safe patient care at the healthcare institutions. So this is where everybody is crying now. Patient safety is not a new concept. The Hippocratic Oath talk about this. Don't do harm in the hospital. When somebody comes, don't do harm. Also, Florence Nightingale, these two legendaries, were talking about patient safety long years back. And she also was highlighting the very first requirement of a hospital is that it should do the sick no harm. So it's not just started recently, but these concepts have been there in the past. Now, there was a landmark publication in 1999. Now, before that, patient safety was not that focused. And in USA, in that year, there were 44,000 to 98,000 deaths due to unsafe care. So there was a publication highlighting that we need to really work on this. Otherwise, there will be so much of deaths happening within the hospital because our care is unsafe. Now, ladies and gentlemen, look at this. How safe is our hospital care? Now, this is a comparison, the risk involved with different activities. So it says, if you look at travel by air, risk is very much less. Air accidents are very much less. So travel by air is accidents are less, more safe. Travel by sea is safe, but less safer than travel by air. When it comes to travel by road, you know how many road traffic accidents daily. It's risky. How many people die, got injured. Then, of course, scuba diving is more risky. Climbing mountains are more risky. But ladies and gentlemen, look at getting to a hospital is even more riskier than climbing mountains because we are not having safe health systems. So therefore, we need to really focus on patient safety. Medical and surgical errors globally. United Kingdom, it's a £1 billion attribute to healthcare acquired infections. 5 to 15% of hospital admissions are due to healthcare acquired infections in UK. So I can go on quoting so many information, so many points on this, but I don't want to. Let's look at surgical mishaps. United States, 0.7% of 1,000 population is having some surgical issues when they undergo surgical operations, complications. So these things are there. I don't want to go into all these details. And the amount of money we spent on this is huge. So this is an issue we all need to be aware. This is an issue we all need to be focused. This is an issue that we need to really focus and deliver patient safety and quality services at the healthcare institution. So there are so much of figures available. I don't want to go into detail, but let me quote this. If we have running health services, we should have a safe care. It should be effective. It should be efficient, patient-centered, and it's distributed equitably, and it should be timely. So these are very important areas that you need to see if you are running a healthcare institution and health services. So these are the things we need to focus. Ladies and gentlemen, I have so much of slides. I don't think that I should go through all this because all our colleagues have touched upon this. So patient safety is an extremely important area. Medication safety even more important. And today we see so much of antibiotic resistance. And Pakistan is reporting extremely drug-resistant typhoid because we are using antibiotics indiscriminately. And sometimes you just go to pharmacy, buy the antibiotics. It should not be the way. It should be prescribed by a qualified doctor. And then there should be a procedure. And then, of course, we need to really raise awareness among the general public that they should not just take antibiotics. Sometimes you go to a doctor, get a consultation, you go for fever, you have the prescription, and next time you get the fever, you look at the prescription, go to the pharmacy, ask, can I have this? You may have fever due to pus dengue. Now your fever is due to some other illness. You are taking wrong drug. So therefore, it's extremely important that the patients also aware about these facts. So I don't want to go into much more details. I have so many slides to share, but hopefully that we can share it with you all. And it's important facts about the patient safety and medication safety. But I am delighted today that so much of excellencies are here. That's very important for us to raise awareness. Not only that, and those are funding sources for us to move forward on this issue. I am sure that embassies will support to take many initiatives in Pakistan forward to ensure patients are safe in our hospitals. Our media friends are here. I am sure you will take this message. Awareness is very important. And when you have an illness, you should consult a doctor. You should not go to pharmacy, just buy a drug and use it. And antibiotic resistance is one of the biggest issues today entire world is facing. So I'm delighted that so much of experts from different agencies are being present here today and share their wisdom and thoughts. And I am so much thankful to Comstech for inviting me and organizing this very important event. So let me finally hope and pray that patient safety is an issue that everybody will focus. Medication safety is an issue where we need to raise awareness. And today discussion will be helpful in raising awareness among the general public and the citizens of this country and locally and globally. I'll stop here. Thank you so much.
Now I invite His Excellency Professor Dr. Muhammad Iqbal Chaudhry, Coordinator General, Comstech. Professor Iqbal Chaudhry.
Auzubillahi minash shaitanir rajeem. Bismillahir rahmanir rahim. Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Excellencies, we have various ambassadors. Let me thank Professor Dr. Palitha, who is a member of Professor Fraternity. So I feel extremely close to him because, you know, professors all over the world are professors. And it's a state of mind rather than nationality. We have ambassadors from our very close brother countries, from Indonesia, Lebanon, Azerbaijan, Morocco, Somalia, Afghanistan, Northern Cyprus, and very distinguished health professionals, and most importantly, the media. If we are able to convince you, we win 50% of the war, perhaps about 60%. Okay, let me extend my thanks and gratitude to all of you for your presence here. You know, it's extremely important that today we are discussing an important aspect of healthcare delivery. But you see, Dr. Palitha is very influential. He influenced me to abandon my 5-page speech and to speak about what he was saying. He mentioned about air travel. He said that air travel is very safe. You know why? Because planes are designed to fly. There is so much of research of aerodynamics, redundancy of different factors. They fly, and they fly almost faultlessly, you know. But medicines are not those. Science of medicine is extremely imperfect. Have you ever seen, I'm sure that you have probably have looked into this long list of adverse effects, major and minor, on the side of the box of every medicine. That represents the science of medicine is extremely raw and very primitive. Honestly, I'm telling you as a scientist, very non-specific. And as a result of it, you remember that aspirin was for painkiller, developed as a painkiller. You take it as a blood thinner, right? Many of the medicines which people take for depression, they were originally developed as anti-epileptic. And the famous example of sildenafil, you know this, you know why it was developed and what it's used for. So much of it. Medicines are completely perfect because of one reason. The reason is their science of life is imperfectly understood. We do not really know extremely complex biological system, and as a result of it, what we produce is imperfect. So side effect, adverse effect would always be there. I'm also a member of a WHO committee for drug-food interaction. So you know that many of these adverse effects which you and we all experience are not only because of those 5 non-rights, but also because of these drug-food interaction and also food-food interaction. Another 50 years, we will be researching on how different drugs interact with each other, how food interact with each other, and how this eventually affect and harm our lives. So science, and also you see, let me tell you, a majority of the medicines for chronic diseases are not there to cure your disease, it's just to manage it. You'll have to live with it for the rest of your life. It is unfortunately not by default, by design also, because many of the pharmaceutical companies. But anyway, this is some of these very extreme views, but let me tell you that in OIC, we're very, very proud to be partner with WHO. We have a working group between OIC and WHO, and we're very, very happy that this working group is working very closely and effectively in Jeddah as well as in Geneva. OIC has played an extremely important role in standing with WHO when many of our friends in North America and in South America were trying to abandon this very important organization at the time when it was needed the most. OIC 57 countries have solidly represented their support for WHO and very proud to be partner with WHO. OIC world has many, many unique problems. For instance, I can tell you one of very distinguished speaker mentioned about illiteracy. Illiteracy in the Muslim world, see about 72% of literacy. And this is less than the global average for developing countries, which is 85%. In rural setup, in our villages, 40% of our population is illiterate. 65% of women, female population is illiterate. How can you expect medication safety when people cannot really read? And if they cannot really read, they would never be able to understand. And of course, there are so many rights, but of course, very, very important that patient also has a responsibility to read and understand. So communication is extremely important. Literacy is very important also. Whole range of different complex issues have been discussed. I don't want to get into it. I just want to tell you that Comstech is fully committed to work with you to not only raise awareness, but also effectively develop programs for capacity building and to work with you, not only in Pakistan, but also in OIC at a global level. WHO is certainly an organization which we value extremely much. So the role of WHO in COVID-19 has been absolutely pivotal. They not only played an extremely important role in fighting the pandemic, but also supporting science. Because without support of science, we could have never come out of COVID-19. So this is the very reason that Comstech 57 ministers standing committee representing the second largest political group, Organization of Islamic Cooperation, after United Nations in 4 continents, 1.9 billion population. Unfortunately, most of these countries are low income or middle income countries, and therefore many of the issues which have been discussed by a very distinguished panel of speakers are actually right at the core of comstech's problems, OIC world's problem, and this is what comstech is trying to address. Very briefly, without taking much of your time, I want to just highlight some of these programs which we have initiated, and I'm looking forward to welcome you to partner in those programs. So these programs are that we have established a consortium of excellence in OIC member countries comprised of some of the finest research and development and academic institution in OIC, including Health Science Academy, which is a very important member. We have initiated this program, and that because of that, we have now institution on ground which can impart training, can contribute in raising awareness, building capacities, conducting joint research projects, developing institution linkages. This was the most effective thing which we have done. Now we have OIC comstech consortium. This is how we work with actual institutions where the work is done. comstech launched a research fellowship program. A large number of them are related to health and healthcare research. In fact, our binational program with Yemen and Palestine is actually largely focused on healthcare. Yemen is in need. This is a very important member of OIC, and they are in need of healthcare support. In that case, the capacity building has been taken care by comstech partly, and with the institution like Health Science Academy, which is taking care of the public health part, International Center for Chemical and Biological Sciences, which is taking care of the healthcare research part, and medical technology by University of Lahore. So there are several of these programs. comstech Alliance of Viral Disease, comstech Alliance of Viral Disease Diagnostic Laboratories is already working in 16 countries. And we have a very special fellowship on viral diseases and vaccine development. My dear brother, Excellency Ambassador of Indonesia is here with a very premier organization, Biopharma, which is certainly the largest vaccine producing establishment in the Muslim world. There is also, along with it, there is a center of excellence called OIC Center of Excellence for Biotechnology and Virology. Under that program, with the generous support of Indonesian government, we have now this fellowship scheme working with them. There are fellows already in Indonesia for getting training on viral diagnosis. And this is similar initiatives is underway with different Pasteur Institute in other countries as well. Now, we have this massive fellowship program. They're the largest one in OIC system. So 500 fellowship for Palestinian brothers and sisters. There are women-specific fellowships. There are health-related fellowships. There are fellowships for technician trainings. So this is a great mobility of people from one country to the other with a single objective of building their capacity in STI, science, technology, also in health, because health comes in the domain of comstech. We are also responsible for the implementation of Science, Technology, Innovation Agenda 2026, which is SDI, Sustainable Development Goal equivalent of the Muslim world. And this is where we are responsible of coordinating its implementation. So without taking much of your time, there are so many programs. If you look into the website of comstech, you will find this website extremely happening place, and you would be able to identify many programs of your interest. And I'm sure that your partnership, your contribution in any way, I mean, largely through your expertise, is the most important outcome which I would expect from this gathering. Let me thank very dear Professor Dr. Palitha Mahipala and his outstanding team, and as well as comstech team under the leadership of Professor Dr. Abdul Rashid And to you, ladies and gentlemen, for your presence here. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Now the time is for seal distribution. I request Dr. Palitha Maipala and Coordinator General Professor Iqbal to come. ठीक। Yes. I request Dr. Farah, representative from Ministry of National Services Regulation, to come forward. Dr. Farah. तालियां बजा दें। Yes. Now I request Dr. Sabine Afzal, our colleague from Ministry of National Services Regulations, to come forward and take the shield from WR. Dr. Sabine Afzal. Photograph with a smiling face. Now I request Ahmed Santarik from Health Service Academy. Ahmed Santarik. And also my colleague, Dr. Ubaidullah, Director, Drug Regulatory Authority of Pakistan. Now the famous person, mashallah, Dr. Ali Shirazi, lead in health systems, WHO. Dr. Ali Shirazi. Dr. Ali Shirazi. I think now it is my turn to take the shield from WR. Now I request Dr. Palitha Maipala to give a shield to His Excellency Professor Dr. Chaudhry Muhammad Iqbal, Coordinator General, comstech. Now I request to Professor Dr. Iqbal Chaudhry, Coordinator General, comstech, give the shield to Chief Guest Dr. Palitha Mahipala, Head of Mission, WHO Representative. Dr. Palitha Mahipala. In the last 7 years, डॉक्टर फीफा कुछ रहता है? यस. In the last, I thanks to all the investors, all the dignitaries, one from Indonesia. In the last, we thank to all the diplomats, also acknowledge to the WHO for their efforts, and we also request for the photographs outside, then we have lunch. Please come for group photo. Thank you very much.